Okay, so welcome to this first part of the lecture on creating transparent surfaces or shading transparent surfaces using compositing. Just to start out with, first thing that we need to do is to import a few images. So if you go to the folder you've dropped your images, these are the three images that you need: transparency depth, transparency full, and transparency mask. So import these ones. And here are the three elements that we're going to work with. So if we look at them, first one that we see is over here. We have like the images of the transparent glass completely without any shading. Here we have the images of the transparent glass together with depth, and here we have like the transparency masks. Now something that you can see with these masks is they are a little bit different than I used them before. I wanted to have like a bit more flexibility in which I can recombine each one of the complete shapes right over here. And so the thing what I did was I rendered out a layer also with surface shader, but what I did was I set the transparency completely to 100%. So what you're gonna see is that we have a blue surface, but a transparent blue surface. Okay, so first thing that we need to do is to make sure that we have like proper masks, or that we separate our masks in a proper way. So for that we're gonna use in our color correction, or no, into our channel, we're going to rewire each one of those. What you can see over here is that I used already a set of presets. So just to make it easy to do all these things, I don't have to do that manually anymore. And so this makes it a little bit faster. So we have like the three separate layers from this image, and we're going to use also the three separate layers of this image as well. But on top of that, we're going to also create over here the alpha. And as you can see, the alpha are little bubbles we see inside. Now, probably we're not able to use this layer because what I forgot to do is that the bubbles we see over here in the glass are bubbles which have had a transformation because of the index of refraction. So this is a part of my mask which actually is not going to work properly. So actually I can just leave it aside immediately. So with these parts, and the first thing that we want to do is we want to make sure that we're going to use the depth images in order to control the transparency. Now, there are multiple ways how we can do it. We can either go directly, or we can have some adjustment to the whole thing. Now, the important thing that I want to stress is over here. If we start doing adjustments on the color, the chances are big that we're going to influence over here the masking of this whole thing, and that's something I want to avoid. So in order to solve something like that, we have to unpremultiply the image. Now you can do something like that, which you find right over here, unpremultiply, and as you can see, we get like the proper colors then near the edges. The only problem is over here that the alpha mask is also including this box underneath, so we need to solve this a different way. Now in order to do that, we're going to do our unpremultiplication ourselves. Now for doing an unpremultiplied shader, we need to divide. So divide is going to be the opposite of the multiplication which is going to happen. So we need to make sure that we have like this very sharp border which is not showing anti-aliasing at all. So let's go to color correction, and first thing that you need to do is invert the image so that we have anti-aliasing against black. It's only then that you can use a mask which is going to be used for the division. So the two glasses, that's what we want to work on, and so these are the ones we're going to combine. So in composition, go to math ops, and these two together, not the minimum but the maximum value, is going to give us partially of what we want. There are still some issues with both of these masks, which I'm going to show you later. Okay, so if we're going to combine this, if we have like this result and we're going to divide it with what we see over here, then the end result is not exactly what we expect. So first of all, we do see that we have no anti-aliasing problems over here, but the problem that we see is that suddenly the image has gotten like a lot darker, and also we see like this special inner edge. So these are the two things we really need to address. And what are causing these problems? Well, the problem is over here with these images, and since, like I said, these are transparent masks, they are actually collecting all the heats they have with the surface. Now, because this is glass, it has like a front surface, a back surface, again a front surface, again a back surface. So what we see over here is 4 times this value, and so this has like a strong influence on the inside, but also on the edges that we see over here. So the first logical conclusion of what you could do is say, with the color correction, we're going to make sure that we're going to clamp the color. And so the moment you do that, clamping colors, we see we've gained the proper coloring right over here. But there's still an issue which we find right here. The anti-aliasing didn't seem to be solved properly. So if I go closer, we see still we have like this darkening of colors, and that's something we should avoid. So the other thing we need to do, and we can see that over here, the anti-aliasing doesn't look really right, is to make sure that we have like the right values over here. Like I said, we have a double value over here. The ray is hitting going in and the ray is going out one, so we have like actually, like I said, a double value. So with the color correction, if you use color correction, not the histogram but the basic color correction, if we multiply the whole thing by 0.5, then we get like proper anti-aliasing, as you can see right now. So here the gradient follows a natural path. And so if you do this in combination with the clamping colors, and we do the clamping colors as a division at the end, then we see we have like proper results right over here. So this is the first important step that we need to do. Okay, so it's now from this point we can start doing color corrections. And color correction for something like this I usually do in 2 steps. So one color correction basic and then another one. And the first one is actually biasing the results of the second one. And this gives you just a little bit more control on how the color gradients are going to happen, because there's quite some fine-tuning and tweaking in it in order to get like proper and decent results. Okay, so once you've done that, what you can do then is go back and invert the whole result, or perhaps that's a little bit too early. After we've done the color correction, the next step that we will do is, again, we do a combination, a math operation, and we do it again with exactly the same mask, except we're going to multiply it now again. So we're going to have back a multiplied image. Use invert, so we get back to the normal status of what we had in the beginning. So from here back to the same status. And then as the last part, what we're going to do is we're going to combine both of these together. So we're going to have this one, we're going to have this one, and as an end result I'm going to use right here, not the maximum value, I'm sorry, but we're going to multiply. So like that, we're actually coloring the depth of our surface. Connect it to the output so we can remain over here, we can remain to see the end result. Alright, so now on controlling over here. So first thing what I will do is I will change the offset a little bit, and the reason why I'm offsetting is because I want to avoid that like the soft spills are going to go over onto these parts. So for example, if I would make things like very dark and I wouldn't have something like this, you're gonna see that we're gonna have like darkness on spots which looks just perhaps a little bit too weird if you're looking over here. It's actually physically correct, but yeah, I think I like to have just this little bit more control and making sure that things are being pushed a little bit lower. So like this. Now the gain which I done over here is of course way too big. I like to gain or change it a little bit, and I'm gaining especially with these colors. First of all, I'm making sure that we have the right coloring. So that we can get something which looks more or less like, let's say, some kind of wine or something alike. And then the second one, over here I tend to use a little bit of gamma correction, and with this gamma correction you can control actually the side over here, the side coloring of the whole thing. So you can add some extra type of coloring. So as we can see over here, we get now this change of yellowish tones going over to deep reddish tones, and so this gives you all the kind of control that you need. Now the thing is, what is important is that you learn to play a little bit with this and that you can understand and that you can see what's going on. So this is giving us, let's say, our red wine glasses. Now you can do exactly the same thing for the other layers that we have over here. We have, of course, if you go to this, we have like the coloring of the glass, and we have like a mask in order to make sure that we have, for example, the coloring of the first glass against the coloring of the second glass, things like that. So let's try this. Let's see if we can get like the proper glass effect, and again we're gonna do exactly the same as we did before. So we're gonna make sure that we have like proper masking right here, and so in order to do this I'm going to give myself some more room, and I'm just going to copy everything that I have right over here so I can apply this to one of these results. There's just one thing that I've forgotten to add right here is the invert. So let me just add that one in between, and now we have like the result of the coloring of the glass. So again, here you can do exactly the same thing, or you can do it just before. So a math operation, a multiply, being applied directly after this glass or being applied just over here. So it doesn't matter where you combine it, since it's a multiplication. Yeah, it doesn't have any effect on the end result. Now what I do see over here is that probably we have some negative colors, because if we combine it we suddenly get like this increase. So this is something we need to check out, and using color correction, it's almost always the case. If you see problems like this, you need to use the clamping of colors. Now I don't want to clamp the colors only on their intensity as well, so you probably need to approach that just a little bit differently. Let's see what this result is going to look like. And now we have like the darker outer glasses as well, but this is something I'm going to change and adjust in a different way, because I really don't like the coloring of the glasses over here. I'm going to give it some more a greenish kind of output. So I'm going to connect it to the input image of the output, and so like this we can see the actual result. Okay, so first thing, like I said, what I want to control over here is the coloring of this glass. So I'm gonna go back over here, set these gamma values back to 1, and then do the first step, of course. And what I want to have is like a little bit more greenish kind of glass, but just very transparent version of that. And so I'm not going to use an offset, since I don't need this over here. And the green kind of color that we want to have, could be something more or less in these regions, like bluish green, something like this. I think this probably will give the right effect. So now we see like a little bit of this greenish coloring, and the greenish coloring we see underneath over here as well. So the glass still remains exactly the same as what it was before, except it just has like this slightly greenish tone added to it. So this concludes the first part on how to combine these layers.